You're listening to the Loudmouth Radio Network. No matter the time or the season, we're open and available 24/7. Shouldn't your dealership be too? Carumba.com, the convenient online used vehicle marketplace. Register your independent dealership now. Okay, guys, I am just going to tell you that I don't know why I struggle so much today about my topics, because I think I had a couple things in mind. But I wanted to observe naturally the day of Martin Luther King Day and an official day of service and celebrating Dr. King's life and legacy. That's what we all recognize as today's date being in the general public, okay? I also kind of want to tag team that with something that has been just consistently in my face for the last few days, and that's energy. So I think that they can comprise a space together, and I'm going to tell you how. Guys, it's time for another Sonny's Monday Motivation. Let go. You're listening to Sonny's Monday Motivation here on loudmouthradio.com. Okay, guys, this is a very interesting conversation I want to have today, and I really had to really take a step back and see what and how I wanted to construct this conversation, because it can be pulled in so many different directions, and I'll explain why. The biggest thing I think that is incredible about us as humans is that our makeups, we're energy, sheer energy. And how we use our energy determines so much of our lives, our interactions, how we engage people, how we engage animals, how do we morph around the world? Like what do you do? Like, I know a lot of times we don't think about the fact of our energy fields, and how it systematically can change a room. It can change a circumstance, a situation, a substance, a space. It's incredible. And we are not always consciously aware of just how much is happening dynamically. I was reading this article that talks about the physics of death and what actually happens to our energy when we die. And I know you wonder, like, where did you go, or how did you get to this? The other day I saw this really interesting quote that said, "We are not our age, we are our energy." And it was such a great aha moment, because it is so true. How many people have you met at different points and times in your life, family, friends, or complete strangers? And, they may say, "Oh yeah, I'm 30 years old, or I'm 40 years old, or I'm 15, or I'm 65. But maybe the age that they gave you, but the way that they are may not match. Like, I've met people who were elders, whose energy was so full and positive and radiant and full of life, to where you would not identify the age factor according to them in your experience of that person. I've also met younger people who are just, as they say, old souls. So it makes a harder determination for you to figure out their age, because they're so far beyond their years. Why is that? It's our energy. It's the dynamics of our energy. It's the dynamics of how we're existing amongst one another. And so today, I know that, like I mentioned earlier, it's Martin Luther King Day. It's a national federal holiday. And Dr. King, if he would have been alive today, he was born in 1929. So what is this, 2023? So he would be a very much He would almost be almost 100 years old, right? Isn't it amazing? He died in 1968. And it's been well over 50 years since his assassination, right? But yet and still, every aspect of what he stood for and what he believed in and what he, supported and spoke on exists today, right? The cool thing is we have video, we have audio, we have books, we have literature, we have moments of things like that we can draw from, right? The other thing, though, that sometimes we fall into these traps of misunderstanding is that, the death of someone means the total end, and it doesn't. So this led me to share this article that I was telling you about, and I'm gonna make sure I send it to myself and then post it onto our pages so you can see it. But what's so cool is that the kinetic energies that we exist within, the way that we, of course, anybody knows that we are matter and energy. The deal is that a human person can actually source enough energy to light and power up a light bulb, right? And we get our consumption from food. That gives us our chemical energy. And that chemical energy transforms the kinetic energy, which allows us to get muscle power, to keep our muscles in form and shape. Now, the deal is that makes this whole thing a whole nother level when you start getting into the science of aspects. If you really understand atoms and energy, that there's always constant transformation. So there's always been this terminology. You may have heard people say this, that a person has their light, their existence, their energy, not the consciousness, but basically their kinetic energy, their actual source of their existence. And it's transformative. Have you ever been in a room with somebody and somebody came in the room and you may not have known them, but you felt something? It was just this aura that existed around them. There may have been this synergy or something that drew you to them. It may have maybe appealed to you or gave you some moments of thought or consideration of like, who is that person? Or it made you feel more intrigued and you wanted to know who they were or what they were about. Or maybe you knew who they were. And then, like you see a celebrity. There's been times you meet a celebrity that you may have had all this awe for and have had all of these great notions of thoughts. And then when you physically meet them, you might be disappointed because they're totally different from what you thought that they were. And then there's some that you meet that totally blows you away, is far times greater in so many areas than you imagine. What it all comes down to is that we all have energy fields and we're all here collectively sharing energy amongst each other. And how you transform or how you give off your energy is pretty much determined by you and how you move it through, how you move through the earth, how you move through life, how you move in connection with people. I want to read this part of the article that was so interesting to me that gives an insight about the aspect of energy in itself of the human body, right? You have your electrical impulses and signals, and then you have your chemical energy, which is your reactions. Plants go through a photosynthesis, which is a process that allows them to generate energy from sunlight. The sun is a huge source for the earth, for all things, which I know for me, I love the sun. I know that for me, I'm not one to live somewhere where there's not a lot of sunlight because I love the sun, right? The deal is that when our bodies go through transformations, right? And it's something considered thermodynamics, and that is energy, this is very interesting to me, how energy can never be created or destroyed. It just simply exists. It's just an existence. The total amount of energy in an isolated system cannot change. Thanks to Albert Einstein, he spoke on a lot of these types of discussions about matter and energy and the universe, and how our human bodies and other ecosystems are not closed, they're open systems, and we exchange energy with our surroundings. We gain energy through chemical processes, and we can lose it by expelling waste or emanating heat. We are just we're a ball of incredible science. The human body, the human being is something far greater than we can ever physically imagine. I think intellectually we try to unfold and understand the things that are happening dynamically around us, but the truth of the matter is that the level of consciousness of the world and of existence is so far greater, it would take lifetimes to uncover it all. Like we would never get the full understanding of anything in our lifetime. That's my belief. Which leaves us to be open to, learning things and learning more and experiencing things. And what was amazing that this article spoke on in depth, the collection of atoms in which we're composed of are repurposed. And our lights are to continue to just keep going. Like there's not an end to that aspect of us. So I'm not sure who wrote this article, but I'm pretty sure it's more of a scientific, a scientist who wanted to share a lot of this information, or a physicist. He made this mention about if you were at a funeral, you want a physicist to speak at your funeral, because they would be able to tell the family about the fact of the conservation of energy and understand that your energy has not died. Remind your family that the law of thermodynamics, that no energy that's created in the universe is destroyed. That every vibration, every BTU of heat, every wave of particle that was a part of us as an individual becomes a part of the energy of the cosmos. And that you literally transcend the energy, and it just continues to keep going. It doesn't die. So for some, I might be talking over your head, and I get that. But let's just say, I'm pretty sure that somebody in your world, family member, friend, or something, has passed on. And you think about them. And you have something that may remind you of them, or there's something that gives you a reverence point of them, and that's part of that kinetic energy of them that just continues to keep going. And I think that I know I'm speaking on death, but let's talk about life. So, like right now, what are we doing with our energy? Right? How are we using our energy? Are we using it for good? Are we using it for change? Are we using it to advance? Are we using it against other people? It's one of those things that you have to pay attention to how you're moving in the world and not just be existing. You do need to be aware of what you are and what you're doing in the midst of the world. You'll be surprised. There was this article that spoke on Barbara Walters. She came on Oprah's master's class some years ago, and rest in peace, Barbara. We've lost Barbara just recently. And she talked about advice to young women about fighting the big fight. Don't fight little fights, right? If you don't get all the lines, if you're not where you should be, if you're not the first one, don't be the last one out. Be the first one in, be the last one out. Do your homework, choose your battles. Don't whine, don't be the one who complains about everything. Fight the big fight. And in other words, the temptation to give anyone our energy is constant. There's people that are always in our spaces who is using energy using our energy, how are we allowing that energy to be used? Are you allowing people to zap your energy? Are you allowing them to increase your energy? Are you using your energy to accomplish your goals for the day? How are you using your energy? Today is a day of service. So for many people across the country, they may be volunteering, like feeding the homeless, or maybe passing out blankets. It's cold in a lot of different parts of the country right now. It's rainy in different parts of the country. Are you checking on seniors? Like, what are you doing today? And how are you using your energy? For me right now, I'm using my energy to record this conversation, right? My energy is focused on giving a message of conveyance of thought. I want to provoke you to think about how you're engaging with people. How are you encouraging people? What energy are you giving yourself? Are you eating properly? Are you sleeping properly? Are you giving yourself enough water to hydrate yourself? The self-care, right? And believe it or not, how we're handling ourselves also constitutes how we actually deal with the outside world. Because if we're mishandling ourselves, it's easy to mishandle someone else. And you not even be aware. And it could be as simple as, if you're a person that goes to Starbucks every morning, you're getting coffee. Are you smiling at the person when they're handing you the coffee? Are you being pleasant? Are you being a jerk because you haven't had caffeine yet? Are you cussing somebody out because they pulled in the parking space in front of you today and took away your opportunity to get in front of the building that you wanted to get in front of? This is not a criticism, because I found myself a lot of times having to check myself and see where I am, and I think that if we all are more consciously aware of how we're using our energy, how are we existing in spaces, how are we making other people feel, consciously or subconsciously, verbally or nonverbal. Because that's the other part about energy. Energy does not need to be explained. It's felt. So even your dog can feel your energy. Someone else's dog can feel your energy. Even if you're not a dog lover, right? Your cat, we're all energy. So we're feeding off of one another. Even if we could not speak, we could still communicate. That's one of the reasons, like when I first developed Loudmouth and I chose to, create an iconic image, which is technically, I don't know if I've ever shared this during the radio broadcast, but the actual logo of Loudmouth is actually just a cartoon makeup of my own smile. I literally had this picture that I had taken many, many years ago, and I had a friend of mine sketch out the drawing of my mouth, and then I cleaned it up into I had another friend of mine graphically, we just straightened it out, and that's how that whole entire my logo came about. So when I tell you, if I see my logo on anything, I'm going to know it's mine because it's my smile. So naturally, I know, right? But I chose to use that as a universal language, because a smile is a universal language. No matter where you are in the world, you see a smile, it communicates. It means the same thing in any place that you go, right? It's welcoming, it's communication, it's approachable, but it represents what my energy field looks like. And most times, if you've met me or if you've seen me, I'm smiling a lot, right? So, I know I've talked into a nice little frenzy here, but I think that it's important that we are consciously aware of how we're maneuvering around the world and how we're using our energy. I know that there's times when you may have low energy, and that's normal. We're human beings. But the majority of the time, how is your energy being used? That's the part I want you to look at. That's the part I want you to consider. Ooh, maybe I can adjust this some. And it'll help you And then helping you helps other people. I've come to know that no matter what we're doing in the world, we have the ability, the one ability to control how we output. And our energy speaks far greater before our mouth does. So today, let's just start today. It's still very fresh in the new year. We're 2 weeks into 2023. And we have the opportunity to make some dynamic things happen. I say for myself today, right now, just even while all of you all are listening, I see so much for myself. And I know that, just dealing with life stuff, there are times when I've been existing in very low energies. And typically that's not my norm. So when you're feeling a little out of sorts, speaking of which, when you're feeling a little out of sorts, you can tell. You can tell that you're out of sorts because your energy is conveyed first by you. You feel it, you know it, whether you recognize it or not. And today I also read something that was very enlightening that I think will help to give circumference to the aspect of how, at different times we have these moments where we may not be clear on things and we may need some form of clarity or some inspiration, or you might just need some motivation to do something. We all have a lot of things that go on in our life, and at times things are pulling us more than we care to allow it, but it does happen. But how long you allow it to happen can determine a lot more, right? So there was something that I want to share with you that I thought was pretty cool. That if you're in a space or a place of maybe a lost feeling or a feeling of vagueness or not feeling clear, I have something I picked up that talked about Diane Sawyer's father. The journalist Diane Sawyer had given some advice to someone who was feeling like stuck, right? And I thought it was such an aha moment again. I was like, so this is all just good synergy here. But when you're in those times and spaces of maybe confusion, or you just might be feeling stuck and you don't really know where or why you may be in that space, or you just may not have figured out how to get out of it. These 3 things I'm going to share with you was pretty cool, and they're so simple. And only you know what that looks like for you. But the first one was do what you love. The second, do it in the most exciting place possible. And 3, make sure it helps people. Those 3 simple things. And you might be like, well, Sonny, how does that? Well, think about it. If you do something that you love to do, it's going to take you out of the space of where you are, contemplation of confusion or whatever lacking feeling, or maybe that moment of uncertainty is lying. But if you focus on something that you do love, it immediately changes your energy field. You start to feel more positive. You start to feel a little more excited. You might even smile. You'll feel lighter. Then if you do it somewhere exciting, change the scenery. It may bring about some momentum you didn't have. And then the fact that it can be something that can help somebody else, then you're being of service. And a lot of times, when you're not necessarily in a space of clarity or where you want to be in your space or existence, taking the focus off of you and, giving it to someone else, or, acknowledging someone else makes it a little bit lighter. So I'm here for it. So I just wanted to share that little piece. I thought it was a really cool find. So I've just been having these little anecdotes and little pieces, composites that have been appearing. And I realized that, this is what I do need to talk about. I knew that I wanted to talk about energy, but I also wanted to acknowledged the day of service today, and I realized that energy is a servitude. It really is a servitude if you allow it to be. And I think that that's where the power lies, that when we uproot so many dynamics and foundational points of our energy and we use it and shift it to our benefit, that's when the world opens up. That's when you have things that you physically, humanly possible wouldn't be able to fathom. People show up that you wouldn't have known to draw to, and they come and they bring the gifts, or they bring the blessings, or they open the doors, or they give you the sequences of things that you desire, because we're leaning into that area. So remember those three things. Do what you love. Do it in the most exciting place possible. Make sure it helps people. All right, y'all. I'm loving this today. I'm appreciating the time that you guys are giving me. And this has been another dynamic Sonny's Monday Motivation. Have a great week. This episode is sponsored by loudmouth.com, the #1 small business online network. We're putting the word out about small business. Put your business on the referral network online that wants to put the word out about you. 30.7 million small businesses in the U.S., creating 1.5 million jobs annually. Small business accounts for 64% of new job creation in the U.S. There's strength in numbers. No matter what we face, know that there's strength in us. Because of you, we're able, we're capable, we're resilient, and we are available, because we are small business, and together, we're the economy. You're listening to the Loudmouth Radio Network.